In the 17th century, the Atlantic Ocean was not merely water, it was a highway of chains. Across its vast horizon sailed ships heavy with human cargo, men, women, children, torn from the interior of Central Africa. The engines of this trade were not only European forts and cannons, but fragile African kingdoms forced into impossible choices. And in the heart of this storm stood one woman, Njinga Mbande. Born around 1583 among the Mbundu people of Ndongo, Njinga entered a world already tightening under foreign ambition. Portuguese ships had anchored along the coast of Angola decades earlier. What began as trade, ivory, copper, cloth, had metastasized into something far darker, the systematic export of human beings. Ndongo was no minor state, it was a structured kingdom with provincial governors, titled nobility, and a king known as the Ngola, a title that would later give its name to Angola itself. Njinga was born a royal daughter, sister to Njinga Mbande. From childhood, she absorbed politics like air. Court life in Ndongo was not ceremonial, it was survival. Rival factions schemed, neighboring states shifted allegiances, Portuguese agents moved quietly between chiefs, promising muskets in exchange for captives. The Portuguese strategy was not blunt conquest, at least not at first. It was infiltration. They learned the terrain, they studied rivalries, they empowered dissidents, they armed mercenary groups, particularly the Imbangala, fierce warrior bands known for brutal raids. These groups became instruments of destabilization, attacking Ndongo villages, capturing prisoners, and feeding the slave markets of Luanda. Luanda had become a funnel. From its harbor, thousands were shipped annually across the Atlantic, many to Brazil, the jewel of Portugal's colonial ambitions. Sugar plantations demanded labor, and Ndongo was becoming a supplier. Njinga watched this transformation unfold. She learned languages, she studied diplomacy. She understood that war was not always fought with spears, it was fought with perception. By the early 1620s, Ndongo stood weakened. Portuguese pressure intensified, forts crept inland, puppet rulers were encouraged, Jesuit missionaries offered baptism to kings while legitimizing Portuguese authority. Then came the moment that would define Njinga's legend. In 1622, she was sent as an envoy to Luanda to negotiate peace with the Portuguese governor, João Correia de Sousa. It was a calculated risk. She entered the governor's chamber dressed in royal regalia. The room was arranged deliberately. The governor sat elevated on a chair. Njinga was offered no seat. The message was clear: submission. But Njinga refused the symbolism. Without hesitation, she ordered one of her attendants to kneel behind her. She sat upon the attendant's back, raising herself to eye level with the governor. The chamber froze. It was theater, but it was also politics. In that moment, Njinga declared equality, not through violence, through posture. She negotiated fiercely. She demanded the removal of Portuguese forts from Ndongo territory. She called for the return of captives. She even accepted baptism, taking the name Dona Ana de Sousa, seeking diplomatic leverage through Christian alignment. The treaty was signed, but it was not honored. The Portuguese strategy continued beneath the surface. Rival claimants to Ndongo's throne were backed, mercenaries were armed, raids persisted. Then her brother, the king, died under contested circumstances in 1624. Njinga claimed the throne, but the Portuguese supported alternative claimants, deepening civil conflict. The conspiracy moved into open destabilization. Divide the kingdom, empower collaborators, ensure dependence. Njinga's early reign was chaos. Her forces were outgunned. Portuguese muskets outranged Mbundu weapons. Imbangala raids devastated villages. Captives were marched westward in chains. But Njinga did not retreat into symbolism. She adapted. Recognizing that the Imbangala were a weapon being used against her, she made a radical decision. She would recruit them instead. This was not sentimental alliance, it was strategic survival. By aligning with Imbangala war leaders, she gained hardened fighters familiar with Portuguese tactics. In 1629, under mounting pressure in Ndongo, she made a bold move. She shifted her base of power. In 1631, she seized control of the neighboring kingdom of Matamba. Matamba became more than refuge, it became rebirth. From this new capital, beyond immediate Portuguese reach, Njinga rebuilt her state. Refugees flooded in, escaped captives, displaced farmers, deserters from rival factions. She reorganized her military. Cavalry units were strengthened, infantry were drilled, trade networks were re-established inland, and she began playing a longer game. Njinga understood that Portugal was not the only European power in the Atlantic. The Dutch Republic, locked in global conflict with Spain and Portugal, sought footholds in Africa. If Portugal relied on monopoly, Njinga would disrupt it. If they played empire, she would play geopolitics. Her letters traveled far, reaching Dutch merchants, English intermediaries, and neighboring African rulers. Ndongo had been cornered. Matamba would not be. As the 1630s advanced, Portuguese Angola remained powerful, but no longer uncontested. Njinga had transformed from embattled queen to regional strategist. The slave trade continued, the violence did not stop, but neither did she. The stage was set for a larger confrontation, one that would temporarily crack Portuguese dominance and give Njinga her greatest opening. The Atlantic world was about to shift, and Njinga was ready.
Njinga Mbande, queen, diplomat, warrior. A ruler who met empire not with silence, but with strategy.